Y'all, it was Psalm 20. And I paraphrase it. It says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Psalm 20, verse 7. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. And you know, when you trust in that, when you remember that God is taking care of you, that energy will radiate. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. I think that's why I'm so tormented. Because I used to think there was something horribly wrong with me because I was just filled with this like bitter wrath. I don't know if it's wrath. It's more like sometimes it feels that way, but it's really not that. It's just indignation's a good word for it, but like just disgust, you know? Disgust with the world, disgust with human beings, disgust with culture. Disgust with, you know, how boring everything is. And you know, anytime something's negative, we can't help but just jump to the conclusion that it must be bad, it must be wrong, you know? That's not true. Maybe you see things clearly. But keep this in mind. Whenever you're looking at things all negative or all positive, you're missing a significant chunk of reality. You know? And some might argue that it's better to look at things from a positive angle, but most of those people are just lying to themselves, so I don't really think that that's the solution. But I think if you have a positive attitude, like, you don't have to be full of shit to be positive. You know what I mean? I used to think that. I used to think that anybody that was positive was lying. But I definitely agree with me more and more because of how prevalent the TV is. Like, internet culture wouldn't be so popular if what I'm saying wasn't true. You know? And that's why it seems you got a growing number of people that are just completely sucked into that negativity and anger and divisiveness and shit. And it's like, yeah, we could talk about that. I'm not gonna refuse to include that part of it in my creative output, because I wouldn't have so much creative output if that wasn't the case. If this wasn't the shit world that I live in, I don't feel like I would have so much material to work with. But at the same time, I don't want to be in that negative headspace because it's just sucking out my energy, you know? And I can feel it throughout the day. Holy shit. I really need to go to bed. But you know, because I can feel that negative energy, like I'll notice it at work where I'll just be like pissed off about something silly. And it'll occur to me, like, you don't have to be pissed off about this. You could just focus on something else. And sometimes I do. Most of the time I don't. Most of the time I'll still just keep bitching about the same thing. But I'm just bitching to myself. For some reason I feel like it's not as bad, but I know I'm just gaslighting myself. Because, like, yeah, negativity is negativity. But I don't know, sometimes it's just too much though, man. It's way too much. And then I'll just feel like a totally worthless person because I'm making this conscious choice to focus on things that aren't good for me to focus on. I cannot fall asleep in this parking lot.